morning and welcome to the beach. So I got a call yesterday from a newcomer wanting some advice on what to do with his life. And he had me on the phone for a straight 20 minutes of talking about all the problems that he has, that he needs to get worked out. It brought back a lot of memories. I remember when my life was full of problems, and it's all I could ever talk about. When I first came into recovery, and it came my turn to talk, that's all I ever talked about was my problems. I talked about a court date that I had that was coming up. And I did that for a straight 2 weeks. Every time I would share about this court date coming up. Finally, this old timer came up to me and he says, "Earl, I got a question for you." He says, "How many times are you going to go to court, man? You only got one court date, but you're going to court every single day in your mind." Well, let me just say that it's kind of a thing with newcomers. You know, it's so in your face, all your problems are. And especially if you're not drinking. Now that you're not drinking, all of those problems just seem to be overwhelming. And so it becomes that hot topic that's right here in the forefront of your brain. And I get it, believe me, I've been there. But this fellow went on for a good 20 minutes on the phone, and 20 minutes doesn't sound like much until you're the one sitting there listening to all this. So anyway, he wanted advice on how to solve his problems. I told him, I said, "You know what?" I said, "None of your problems have anything to do with staying sober." I said, and besides, I'm no expert on solving your problems. What I can do is I can help you stay sober through those problems. I said, and the number one thing that I think would be helpful for you is to get out of yourself and help someone else. You know, I've found that when my problems are at their height, the best thing that I can do is help somebody else. Go listen to somebody else's problems for a while. It makes my problems seem very, very small. So I didn't have any answers for this fellow except a way to stay sober and get through the problems without drinking. The other issue is, what is my reaction to those problems that I have? Do I have to freak out over those? No, I don't. As a freshly sober alcoholic, is that the norm? Yeah, pretty much. I just know that when I focus on my problems, they seem to enlarge somehow. The problem becomes even tougher to solve when I focus on it. You know, I find that when I get out of myself and I help someone else, I'm focusing on other people's problems instead of my own. When I'm not focusing on my problems and I'm focusing on someone else's, when I come back to my problems, guess what? They're still there. But I spent that amount of time without all the stress and headache of focusing on my problems. If I were to just sit down in an empty room and focus on my problems, I'd either go crazy or get drunk, one of the two. So that's just not a good plan for this alcoholic, to sit and focus on my problems. Now, does that mean that I never have to address those problems? Of course not. Of course not. I address those problems as they come up. You know, one of my favorite alcoholics of all time course, here in Florida. And he says, what do you do when you're surrounded by alligators? Ooh, find yourself surrounded by alligators, what do? Well, you focus on the closest alligator. You deal with that one, because you can't possibly take on all of these alligators that are surrounding you. You take on the first alligator. Once you've dealt with them, okay, on to the next alligator. There's a lot of fear involved in dealing with problems. That alligator example is actually pretty good because there's so much fear in dealing with those problems. You know, the other thing that I find very helpful is the fellowship. If you're ever invited after a meeting to go grab lunch or dinner or breakfast or whatever it is, a piece of pie and a cup of coffee, whatever it is, I encourage you to do that, because I think you'll find that being around sober alcoholics out in a social situation rather than in a meeting room will teach you a lot about being sober and life in general. You know, you'll talk about life while you're sitting there. You'll talk about, you know, what the wife did or what the kids did, or, you know, how you dealt with certain situations in life. You know, your financial instabilities, whatever. You will see that other alcoholics deal with that stuff and still have a smile on their face, and they're not struggling with staying away from a drink. So my encouraging words this morning are, don't focus on your problems. Get out of yourself. Help someone else. Help them focus on someone else. You know, just by me telling that fellow, dude, you need to stop focusing on your problems and get out there and help someone else. That helped me. Does that make sense? You know, there's no getting out of the problems. We all have problems, whether they're big or small. We all have problems. Recovery is not here to fix all your problems. It's here to fix one problem, and that's your alcoholism. And your alcoholism doesn't just pertain to your drinking. It also pertains to your thinking. So please, don't focus on your problems. Get out there and help somebody else. Get involved. Get involved in the fellowship. Get out there and have a cup of coffee and a piece of pie with a couple of fellow alcoholics. I think you'll see that it'll be helpful for you, and you'll be learning one more area of life to be happy, joyous, and free. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.